Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I received over the past 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you are currently taking, not taking, or considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at fitcosgrove_. All right, let's get started with this week's no filter Q&A with question number one. Nick, I train hard Monday to Friday, but completely fall apart on the weekends. Is that enough to ruin my progress? It very well can be. I mean, this is why I always talk about when you have a cheat meal, not to turn it into a cheat day. Okay. So in your case, 2 days of falling off the wagon, no training, undisciplined eating, no portion control, that can cause a detrimental setback to your results in the gym with your performance and your physique. It truly can. And I've seen it time and time again with people. A lot of people think, well, it's just 2 days. Yeah, but 2 days out of 7 days, 4 times a week, or 4 times a month, sorry, that's 8 times. And then you think about how many months in the year, 8 times 12, right? So those days start to add up. So this is why it's so important that, I just put out a YouTube short last week on Friday talking about the real people who get real results with their physiques are the ones that turn the fitness into a lifestyle. So they're not just clocking in for the 1 hour workout or two or three clean meals and then three or four bad meals, or 5 days on training, diet, discipline, and 5 days off, crap eating, sleeping too much, drinking too much, sleeping in, all that nonsense, right? So you have to turn it into a lifestyle. Okay. So to answer that question, yes, it can definitely impact your results. Now, will you still get results if you're training 5 days a week? Of course, yeah, you're definitely, if you're following a proper training split where you're putting together one muscle group, like I always advocate, one muscle group per day. So Monday chest, Tuesday back, Wednesday shoulders, Thursday buys and tries, Friday quads, hamstrings, glutes. You can throw in some abs throughout the week as well. That to me is a great training split. So you can still train 5 days a week. You'll get great results. Hell, you can train 4 days a week and you'll get great results. But if you're the other 2 or 3 days, you're completely just falling off and you're doing whatever you want with your diet, that's going to impact your results. So you still want to stay disciplined on your rest days. Okay. Do you have to consume as many calories? Probably not. You could probably skip one meal. You're probably not going to need those many calories if you're not training. For me, on the days that I take off from the gym, not that I take many days off from the gym, but the days that I do take off from the gym, I just skip my post-workout meal, which is 2 cups of white rice and 2 scoops of protein powder. So I still have that meal. That's it. But all my other meals, I'm pretty disciplined on. Okay. So you need to stay disciplined. And I know that's not the answer that a lot of people don't want to hear. But if you are truly serious about seeing and feeling results with your health and physique, you have to turn this into a lifestyle. You can't wing it. You can't clock in for an hour. It's not a shift job. It's something that's with you all day long. Yeah, the workout's for an hour, but then you got to stay disciplined on your diet. And you have to make sure that you're practicing proper portion control. And you have to make sure you're getting enough protein to build muscle, enough carbohydrates to fuel your workouts, and enough fats to support hormonal health. So everything comes together, and you can't have one without the other. Okay, you truly can't. So my recommendation to you, keep it at 1 to 2 cheat meals max per week. Okay, if you don't really care about seeing great results with your physique and you're just working out for the overall benefits of a healthy lifestyle, and sure, you can have maybe 3 or 4 cheat meals a week. But if you're like me and you really want to see progress with your physique, like most people who work with me do want to see change in their physique, and that's okay. I don't think that's vain. And I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with a little bit of vanity too. Okay. Yes, a little bit of vanity. And I think if vanity gets you into the gym, great. So a lot of people, they go to the gym because they want to see change in their physique. So if you want to see change in your physique, it goes beyond that 1 hour workout or that 45-minute workout, the 3 to 5 days a week that you're in the gym. Okay. You have to stay disciplined with your diet and you have to make sure that you're turning this into a lifestyle. That's when you're going to see and feel changes with your health and physique long term. All right. Nick, how do I know if I actually need a coach or if I'm just being lazy and avoiding accountability? If you're not seeing results, you need a coach. If you're skipping workouts, you need a coach. If you're not staying disciplined with your diet, you need a coach. If you're wandering aimlessly around the gym, making up your workout, you need a coach. If you're constantly feeling pain and you're getting injured, you need a coach. Okay. So of all those reasons, If you fall to any of those reasons, you need a coach. Hey, it's pretty simple. People who don't need a coach, people who are fairly self-disciplined, sure. If you're someone who can go to the gym and you know what you're doing, great. You don't need a coach. But listen, I have a lot of people on my roster who are self-disciplined, and the reason they work with me is because it's no longer for the accountability factor. In their case, they hold themselves accountable, but I'm the one that comes in with the expertise in exercise science and dietary nutrition, so I can program accordingly for their body type. And let's face it, sometimes when you're in it yourself in the workout, you don't have a second set of eyes. So you could be doing an exercise that you think you're doing correctly, but a good coach with experienced eyes is going to say, hey, you know what? We need to tweak this form. Or this exercise doesn't seem to be working for you based on your body alignment. It could be anything from the plane or range of motion that you're doing. Maybe you actually do have a current for injury or physical limitation. That coach can program accordingly and provide an alternative exercise for you if and when necessary. Okay, so for people who don't need the accountability, that's why they work with the coach. And for people that do need the accountability, well, making a scheduled session with your coach who's going to hold you accountable for your session. You're not going to miss that session unless you want to get charged for a workout that you're not doing. Who wants to get charged for something you're not doing, right? So the accountability factor is huge. Okay. So there are people out there who are self-disciplined. I have plenty of them on my roster who still work with me for that reason because they know that they can get a good workout in with me at a private training facility. And I'll program specifically for their body type and for their goals and for their lifestyle and for any potential injuries or physical limitations that they might have. All right. Nick, is there a point where training more actually becomes a waste of time? Yeah, I think if you're in the gym for more than 45, 60 minutes, you are just wasting your time at that point. I mean, really, what more can you do? If you're going all out in the gym, 45, 60 minutes should be sufficient, in my opinion. Because at that point, you risk injury, you risk overtraining, you risk adrenal fatigue. You're not going to recover properly. You're not going to sleep properly. You're going to be sore in the wrong areas. There's a difference between good soreness and bad soreness. Good soreness is soreness in the muscles. Bad soreness is soreness in the joints, soreness in the tendons and the ligaments. That's bad soreness. We don't want that. So we want to avoid that. So we want to get in and out of the gym as quick as possible, but we want to make sure our workouts are effective and efficient. All right. So I don't mean you want to go through your sets quickly. You want to make sure that you're doing everything controlled when you're resting properly, not playing on TikTok or Instagram, but taking that 45, 60-second rest in between sets max and getting right back into it again. So you want to stimulate the muscles. You don't want to annihilate the joints, tendons, and ligaments. Okay. But yeah, I'm honestly a firm believer that if you're in the gym for longer than 45, 60 minutes, I'm talking about weight training. So if you're in a gym doing weight training for 45 minutes and you do an additional 20, 30 minutes of cardio, I see nothing wrong with that because you're working your respiratory system there versus your muscular system. That's fine. But if you're doing weights for 90 minutes, I mean, honestly, I don't think you're training hard enough because I know for me and for people I work with, 45, 60 minutes is more than enough. I have people that purposely come late to my sessions because they don't want to do a full hour. They know it's too taxing on their bodies. And it's true because we just go all out. We don't stop. Okay. So I honestly think that if you are someone who enjoys going to the gym, that's great. But try to keep your workouts to under 60 minutes and just try to, focus on using maximum intensity in the gym. If you are training with the utmost amount of intensity, you're not going to want to be in the gym for more than 60 minutes. Okay, I don't care how much you love the gym. I love the gym. But after 40, 45 minutes, I'm done. I'm like, no, I can't do anymore. And if I can do more, it's going to be sloppy form. It's going to be shitty technique. And I do risk injury. So why risk injury? I'll come back to the gym the next day and do another 40, 45-minute workout and get great results. And I want to keep getting great results. So I want to train intelligently, right? And I want to train methodically. It comes back to working smarter, not harder. Okay. Nick, I work a stressful corporate job and feel exhausted by the end of the day. Should I still force myself to train even if I'm tired? My recommendation to you would be to train before your day starts. So if you're someone who starts, let's say at 8 a.m., wake up at 5 a.m., get to your gym at 6 a.m., do a 1 hour workout. That gives you an hour to clean yourself up, shower, shave, whatever you need to do, and get to work. Okay. For me, if I'm working until like 7 or 8 at night, which does happen, I will get up at 3:30, 4 in the morning, and I'll get my workout in because I don't want to work out at 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. I understand where you're coming from. I get it. When you're tired like that, it's really hard to get to the gym. And a lot of people say, well, once you're there, you'll feel more energized. That's true, but getting there can be a challenge, right? Especially if you've had a really stressful day. I talked about this last week on the Q&A, how I have some clients who are lawyers. They have super stressful jobs. And I do understand, and I can empathize with you because I do understand that those types of jobs can be very stressful and they play a role, not just, they don't just exhaust you physically, but they exhaust you mentally, right? So they play a role in you getting yourself to the gym and feeling that energy to just get a good workout in. So I do get that. So get your workout in at the beginning of the day. If anything, that's going to help you get through the rest of your day, right? Because I talked about last week on my coaching reality episode how working out puts you in a better mood, gives you more energy, more focus. So all those things line up and they're going to make your day even more productive. So if you are someone who has a fairly stressful job and you work, let's say 9 to 5, or you work from 8 to 3, or if you're in corporate and you work from like 8 to like 9 o'clock at night, get your workout in first thing in the morning. Okay. You have to figure it out how you can do that, whether that means getting up an hour earlier or 2 hours earlier, having your gym clothes set up in your bag so you're ready to go for that, your workout fit in your bag, whatever you need to get ready, your food prepped for the morning. I do that all the time. I talk about how my morning oatmeal is already in the fridge. I don't have to make oatmeal in the morning, it's already made. So I'm in and out. I wake up, get dressed, get ready to go, do a workout, have a shower at the gym. I'm good on the floor. Little easier for me because I get to work where I train. For other people, there's a bit of a commute, and I get that. That's why I say plan accordingly. Make sure your meals are prepped, make sure your clothes are set up, and make sure that there's no variables. And you get to bed at an early time. You wake up, get your workout in, rest of the day, easy. Okay, next question. Nick, I hit my calories perfectly during the week, but one cheat meal turns into an entire cheat weekend. How do I stop this? Yeah, so that kind of correlates with my first question that I had, right? Here's the thing. When I work with clients online, there's one simple rule. I shouldn't say it's a rule, it's more of a recommendation, but there's a recommendation that I do with, I should say, I use with all my clients. And that recommendation is to have their cheat meal as their last meal of the day. Okay. And why, right? Why do I say that? Well, the thing is, when you have, let's say, I don't know, say you have pizza, you're full after that pizza, right? You've had like 3 or 4 slices. Some people eat slices, but you've had that pizza, you're full. But then if you had that pizza at, let's say, 11 o'clock in the morning, when 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon comes around, for a lot of people, you become so insulin sensitive that you start craving more carbs and not good carbs. You're not craving like jasmine rice or quinoa. You're craving more pizza, maybe a nice like burger and fries. So you start to crave more junk. It's the same thing I say with sugar. If you're someone who's like more sweet and savory and you say, I want to have a bowl of ice cream, have the bowl of ice cream, but save it for the end of the day. Because if you have that bowl of ice cream at 11 o'clock in the morning, guess what? You're going to be craving sugar because your blood sugar levels are going to spike and they're going to drop and you're going to be craving sugar. And the chicken and rice is not going to make you feel any better. Okay. So if you have that ice cream as the last meal of the day, now you're going to bed. You're going to fast for 8 hours. So you're going to wake up, you're not going to crave it anymore. So it's almost like you're going to sleep through that insulin crash, the blood sugar crash, and you wake up and you feel great. So this is a recommendation. I shouldn't call it a rule. It's a recommendation I have for all my online clients, but most of them follow it. And I tell you what, they adhere to it because they see what happens when they have that cheat meal at the end of the day, as opposed to the middle of the day or the beginning of the day. So that's a good tactic and a good strategy to implement if you are someone that turns a cheat meal into a cheat day, or in your case, a cheat weekend. All right. You have to practice proper control. I talked about practicing proper portion control, but you also have to make sure you're practicing control with your cheat meals. I'm not saying don't have a cheat meal. I want you to have a healthy relationship with food, but at the same time, like I said to that person who answered the first question, is one weekend of binge eating and uncontrolled eating and just complete chaos, no training, going to really set me back? And it will. I promise you it will, because on paper that only looks like 2 days. But when you add that up to a month, that's 8 days. And then you add that up, what is that for a year? 96 days. Okay, it was rounded up to 100 days of complete chaos. That adds up. All right. So you have to look at the big picture here. So my recommendation is to try to keep those cheat meals at the end of the day if you can. I know that's not always practical, especially if you're going out for, let's say, breakfast with your family or whatever it may be. But even then, I would try to keep that breakfast clean. Have it clean, like have an omelet. Okay, so really try to stay mindful of what you're putting in your body and be very aware of insulin levels, blood sugar levels, and also dietary habits. If you're someone who binges, or you're someone who has an unhealthy relationship with food, then you do need to practice having a cheat meal when it works for your lifestyle, but at the same time, you need to practice on controlling your urges. And I know that's difficult to do. It really is. It's not that easy. It's easy to say, but difficult to do. But my recommendation, have the cheat meal at the end of the day because it does make a difference. All right. Okay. Nick, why do some people stay lean year round without struggling? A combination of good genetics and good discipline. I don't have the best genetics, but I stay relatively lean year round. That show I just did back in March, so we're talking about 4 weeks ago, I'm still fairly lean. I'm eating more calories, but I'm still doing my cardio. I'm still weight training every day. I'm still following a clean diet. So I have discipline. Right? I'm not saying, well, now I don't have to get on stage, so I'm going to go have Ben and Jerry's every night, and I'm going to go have a pizza every night. I don't do that. Like, no, the stage is done, but I still want to look and feel good. And more importantly, now at my age, at 40, I want to feel good. It's that's the more important to me than looking good. It really is. Like I want to wake up in the morning and feel energized. I don't want to have sore muscles. I don't want to have a sore back. I don't want to feel like I had to put limitations on myself because I'm 40 years old. Okay, and I talked about this in the past, how I feel better at 40 than I did at 20. I have more energy. All right. So it's discipline. It comes down to being disciplined and practicing good habits. Good bad habits will turn to good habits if you put into effect that 21-day rule that I talked about on my YouTube short the other day. How I'm a firm believer in it takes 21 days to develop a habit. I actually talked about this on the Coaching Reality episode last week as well. So you haven't checked out that episode, I dropped it last Wednesday. Check that one out as well as to why people give up and leave the gym. Okay, I gave 5 reasons as to why I believe people stop working out. Okay, and one of those reasons I was talking about is because they don't know how to develop good habits. So the 21-day habit rule, simple. Saying is it takes 21 days to develop a habit. Okay? And again, we're not talking a drug habit here. We're talking good habits. So if you, for example, say, okay, you're someone who, let's say you skip your pre-workout meal and you notice halfway through your workout you have no energy. Like, well, I can't eat first thing in the morning, but you do know you need something in your body to get through that workout. So you might say, okay, well, day one I'm going to have just a little bit of oatmeal, fourth of a cup. And that's going to be hard for you to do that. I get it. But if you start doing that every morning, even on days you don't train, that will become a habit. And then you'll be waking up in the morning, you'll be craving that oatmeal because your body now is into a routine. So if you can get through that hump, which for most people is 21 days, 3 weeks, you've got that habit. You've got a good habit now in you. It's implemented into your system and you're going to follow it daily. All right. So it's the same thing with working out. I always tell new clients, like, if you can get through the 3 to 4 week threshold, stay with me for 3 to 4 weeks, whether you're working with me online or in person. Just really try to focus on getting through that much. Don't worry about how much fat you have to lose, how much muscle you have to build, your form, your technique, people. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Block it, all that stuff. All you need to focus on now is getting from the 1st of May to the end of May. That's your goal. Let's get you in the gym for a month. Okay. Let's get you following a routine. Let's try to clean up your diet because once we get you into that routine, it's harder to break. Okay, so really put yourself, your mind into it and say, okay, I'm going to put myself all in here and I'm going to try to turn these bad habits into good habits. But honestly, that's how people stay lean, most people, because most people are not genetically gifted. So they have discipline, they practice portion control, they exercise daily, they make sure they're getting enough sleep, they hydrate. Listen, hydration is key. I go through one of these right here in about every 45 minutes to an hour a day. Okay, that's 1 liter of water. I'm easily drinking, God, probably about 20 liters of water a day. Okay. Hydration is key because when you're hydrated, you're not going to overeat. And I always have a liter of water with every meal I have because when I drink that water, I can't eat anymore. So I'm practicing portion control. I'm not hungry. Okay. So hydrate, rest, sleep, keep your cortisol levels low, practice good habits, implement those habits into a system that you can enforce for 21 days. Once you've done that, you've got it for life. All right. Okay. A few more questions here. Nick, I always start super motivated, then lose momentum after 6 to 8 weeks. How do I stay consistent long term? I think you said, how do I stay consistent long term? Okay. So I talked about this actually last week on the No Filter Q&A. So I'll just touch on this again. You have to have more than motivation. You have to have more than inspiration. You have to put in discipline. Okay. You have to make sure that you are focusing on a strategy. You have to implement a strategy as to what you're going to do when you hit a plateau. And this is what working with a good coach will do. Because for me, I always have a strategy with every client I work with because I know we're going to hit plateaus. They might not know, especially if they're new to the gym, they might have no idea, but I already know we're going to hit a plateau. It might not be the first month, it might not even be the second month, but at one point, we're going to hit a plateau, whether that's weight loss, the weight stalls on the scale, whether that's performance in the gym, whether they've injured themselves and now we have to work around an injury, whether there's been a death in the family or personal problems at work, whatever it may be, and now elevated stress is causing them to miss workouts, we're going to hit a plateau. Okay, that's life. And if you don't plan what you're going to do when you hit that plateau, there's a good chance you're going to fail. So you have to think ahead. Okay. And I talked about if you were to start a business, you would have a business plan. I would hope you would have a business plan. So if you're going to build your physique, you have to have a plan. You have to have a building your physique plan. Okay. And you have to plan for hiccups because they're going to come. Okay. Just like in business, they're going to come. They're going to have problems in business. You're going to have licensing fees. You're going to have, maybe if you're trying to get permits, you're going to have problems getting permits. Maybe you're having a hard time raising capital, whatever it may be. So problems arise. So you need to plan what's going to happen. You can't just go, oh, shit, problems arise, close down the business idea. No, you want to start your business, you have to have a business plan. You want to build your body, you have to have a plan to build your body. Okay. And that includes planning for potential hiccups and plateaus that come along your way. The people that don't plan for this are always the people that give up. They do. Okay. So it's so important that if you are trying to stay disciplined and focused on your training, that's great. But you have to excuse me, you have to plan for what's going to happen when your weight loss stalls or your performance is not as good in the gym as it once was, right? Or you're starting to miss workouts because work has become too busy, or you're cheating on your diet more because you fall into a routine, your stress levels are high. You're going through a breakup, you're going through a divorce, whatever it is. Okay. So if you plan for these events to happen and what you're going to do when they do happen, you will be successful. If you don't know how to plan for what you should do when you hit a plateau, hire a coach because the coach is experienced and has gone through this before. Everything that you're going to go through, whether I said it's not being able to lose weight, not being able to gain muscle, dealing with an injury or physical limitation, missing workouts because there's a personal problem or there's a work related problem, cheating on your diet. I've seen it all. And because I've seen it all, I know how to troubleshoot through that. And I'm not promoting my own coaching services. You could hire any coach to do this, but make sure the coach that you're working with is experienced and knowledgeable and can help troubleshoot you through these waters. Because if you don't, you're going to start wandering aimlessly. You're going to miss more workouts. You're going to cheat on your diet. And all of a sudden, you're gone. Okay. So have a plan and plan for disasters to happen because I promise you they will happen. They will. They always do. And when those disasters happen, what are you going to do? How are you going to navigate through those waters? All right. Okay. I think about one more question. Oh, two more questions. Okay. Two more questions. Nick, how do you think most people actually, oh, sorry, Nick, sorry, Nick, do you think most people actually train hard enough to grow muscle? Whew. Most people, no. I would say if I were to group the general population, I would say probably 30% do and 70% don't. I don't see people pushing themselves hard enough in the gym. Now, I'll take my own clientele out of this because I push my clients hard in the gym, even if they don't want to push themselves hard in the gym. But for the general population, from what I see, they do not push themselves nearly as hard. And I don't mean lifting the heaviest amounts of weight. If anything, some people lift weight that's actually too heavy for them, and their form is terrible, and they're doing this whole 1 to 3 rep bullshit. That 1 to 3 rep bullshit is going to build strength. It's not going to build muscle. It's not going to build definition. It's not going to give you better aesthetics. Not going to do that. So if you want to build a better physique, you have to keep your reps in those double digits I always talk about. 10 to 15 is ideal. I don't even mind if you want to go up to 20 every once in a while, but keep it in double digits. Okay. You want to make sure that you're executing proper form and technique, which means you're controlling both the concentric and eccentric contractions of the movements. All right. So everything you're doing is in a controlled fashion. You're sculpting your physique. You're approaching your workouts like an artist, right? You're building your canvas, but you need to keep your workouts intense. And when I see people sitting there on their phone, or I see people talking to their gym neighbors, and there's just no intensity, I'm like, well, of course you're not going to see changes in your physique. You're not putting in a damn effort. Your workouts don't make sense. So yeah, I would say 70% of people, in my opinion, do not train hard enough. And then you get those 30% that just go all out. And when I talk about the 30%, again, I'm not talking about people who are lifting crazy heavy weights. I take the weights completely out of it. It's just what you do, your intensity, you're focused at what you're doing. It's the same thing when you see people work. The people who are successful are the people that work hard. The people who are not really successful are the ones that just coast. And the ones that just coast, they're the ones that don't really get promoted. They're the ones that never really excel in life. They're okay with the status quo. And that's fine. That's good for a lot of people. But to me, why the hell would you go to the gym if you're just okay with the status quo? Don't you want to see change in your physique? Don't you want to see improvement in your health? So you have to put in what you want back. If you want an ROI on your physique, on your health, you got to go all out in your workouts. You got to make sure your diet's dialed in. And if you're not willing to do that, don't bother. And again, it goes back to what I was talking about last week, that saying when it says there's no such thing as a bad workout. And I always say that is not true. I see a lot of shitty workouts. And I think that saying came out before cell phones were introduced. Okay, because I don't think that saying would still be relevant today. Because when I watch people sitting on their phones in between sets for 5, 10 minutes, what like why bother? Why come to the gym? Just don't. Stay home. You're not doing anything. You're not getting anything done. You're not. Okay. So if you want results, you have to train, period. It's that black and white. There's no way around it. All right. I don't care if you're doing CrossFit. I don't care if you're doing bodybuilding. I don't care if you're doing spinning classes. Whatever you're doing, you have to go all out and you have to put 100% effort into it. You can't half-ass it. If you half-ass it, you're going to get half-ass results. If you want results, you got to put in 100% work and dedication to what you're trying to achieve. All right. Okay. Last question. Nick, what's one harsh truth most people need to hear if they're serious about changing their body? Well, I think I just kind of touched on that. So, I mean, that's kind of correlates with what I just talked about. But, I'll just add to that. You cannot have these unrealistic expectations that you're going to achieve this great, lean, hard physique if you're only putting in minimal amounts of work. And they talked about how the consistency factor is huge, and I would say that is the number one reason why people don't achieve their goals is because they're not consistent. The intensity is a big one too, but the consistency factor. Because if you go to the gym and you train super intense, but you only do that twice a week, and then one week you're gone, one week you're back, but every time you go, you're training intense, you're going to get some results. Yeah, because you're training intensely, but you're not being consistent. So you're not going to build on those results. And because it's the stop and go, you do risk injury, right? And there's going to be setbacks. So that's just why the consistency factor wins. And I'll use myself as an example here. I've never had the best genetics, but I always showed up. I always show up to every workout. I don't skip my meals. I always make sure I get my meals in order. And because I know what I'm doing in the gym and I know what I'm doing in the kitchen, I'm preparing myself to be successful. And I talked about this last week on a YouTube short and on my Instagram reel, how I don't believe I'm lucky. And I believe that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And I've always believed that. So if you're prepared and opportunity comes your way, boom, you're going to be successful. But if you're not prepared and an opportunity comes your way, what's going to happen? Not much. So you want to put yourself in the best position possible to become successful at anything in life, right? Business, building a physique, relationship, real estate, whatever it may be, you want to put yourself in the best position to, when that opportunity arises, you can grab it. Okay. So that's why I don't miss my workouts. That's why I don't skip my meals. That's why I'm a workaholic and I'll get back to clients at 11 o'clock on a Friday night if they email me. That's me. I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm just saying, like, that's who I am, though. So I don't consider myself to be lucky because I'm successful. I've put myself in this position in order to be successful. And I'm not the only one. There are people who are much more successful than me, but they follow the same blueprint. All right. So you have to be prepared and you have to be dedicated and you have to be disciplined. And it really is that simple. Is it simple to do? No, but it really is that simple. There's no magic formula, right? So you do, like I said, for that person who said that they're in corporate and they're tired at the end of the day, well, then get your workout in at the beginning of the day. Done. There's 24 hours in a day. Change up your schedule. Period. It can be done. I have people on my roster that work from 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. at night. They still find time to get in a workout. So you can find the time, all right? You just have to be disciplined, you have to be dedicated, and you have to figure out time management. So instead of watching 3 hours of Netflix, maybe you just watch 1 hour of Netflix and focus on 2 hours of preparing your meals with meal prep, getting your clothes ready for your workout, setting everything up, so everything's in order so you can get to the gym in the morning. So spend some time outside of the gym, getting yourself ready to go do your workouts, preparing yourself for your meals, everything, all that helps. Okay. So I would say the consistency factor is the number one reason why people don't get the results. And that's the harsh truth people don't want to hear. Okay, you have to be consistent. If you're not consistent, yeah, you'll get some results, but they're not going to be great results. And who doesn't want great results? So if you want great results, stay consistent, and that's how you're going to achieve better results with your health and your physique and your overall well-being. Anyway, on that note, that is it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Monday, May the 11th. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, your workout program, supplements you're currently taking, not taking, or considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at fitcausegrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting my YouTube channel. If you have not, please do like and subscribe to my channel. I truly do appreciate all the support and all the feedback I receive from each and every one of you. Don't forget to check out my YouTube shorts. I drop a YouTube short daily. My No Filter Q&A, which comes out every Monday, as this one is. My coaching reality episodes that come out every Wednesday. My weekly blog that comes out every Friday morning on our website, foreverfitperformance.com. Check them all out. And I do appreciate all the support and feedback that I receive from each and every single one of you. Thank you all again, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.